Hey everyone, welcome back. Today we're diving into the future of fragrance.
Ooh, future of fragrance.
Yeah, and specifically a company called Osmo,
Okay.
who is using AI, artificial intelligence,
Interesting.
to completely change the way we think about and experience and even create new scents.
Yeah.
So we've got a few different articles and blog posts that we're going to be talking about today, all about this pretty fascinating company.
Okay, sounds good.
So, I guess what's super interesting to me at the outset is how Osmo is really using technology to sort of,
Yeah.
change something that's so personal and nuanced,
Right.
like our sense of smell, you know?
Uh-huh.
Like we're talking about stuff like recreating the aroma of, like,
Yeah.
a Tuscan vineyard.
Wow.
Or like, I don't know, capturing the scent of a loved one's embrace.
Well, that's getting really personal,
Yeah.
but yeah, definitely fascinating to think about.
Okay, so
Yeah.
I'm already interested.
Me too.
But before we go too far into this,
Yeah.
I think it's worth talking about the problem
Okay.
that Osmo is really trying to solve.
Yes.
We all love perfume, right?
I do, yeah.
But, creating those captivating scents,
Yeah.
it's not simple, is it?
No, it's very complex.
Yeah.
The traditional process of developing a new fragrance molecule, or what perfumers would call a captive, can take 7 to 10 years.
Wow. That's a long time
It's a really long time.
to wait for a new smell.
Yeah, I mean, it's like,
Yeah.
imagine trying to create a whole new color
Yeah.
and waiting a decade to see if it works.
Right. Yeah.
It's a very slow, it's incredibly expensive process. And, because of that, it means there's a limited number of these new scents that are developed every year.
Oh, so is that why?
Yeah,
Seems like there's so many perfumes that
exactly.
kind of have similar notes.
That's exactly it.
It's like the industry's kind of working with
Yeah.
a limited palette of smells.
Very limited palette.
Yeah.
And that is exactly where Osmos AI comes in.
Okay.
They have this platform called Forge, and it can actually identify and create
Oh, wow.
new captive molecules, so these new fragrance molecules,
Uh-huh.
4 times faster
Whoa.
than the traditional methods.
Okay, so that's like,
It's like they sped up
that's game changer.
the innovation cycle, like from,
Yeah.
dial-up to fiber optic.
Right.
It's pretty crazy.
Okay, so that's really impressive. I mean, the speed is really impressive.
Yeah.
But I guess my next question would be,
Mm-hmm.
like, are they good? You know,
Oh, yeah.
Are they actually unique?
These AI-generated scents, yeah, they are. It's really exciting.
Okay.
They've actually already released 3 new captives, glossine, fractaline, and quasarine.
Okay.
And each one has really unique properties that perfumers haven't really had access to before.
So, okay, walk me through it. What's glossine?
Sure. So glossine has this really beautiful, vibrant floral aroma. That's kind of reminiscent of jasmine. But what really makes it special is it actually performs really well on dry fabrics.
Oh, so you're saying my clothes could smell amazing
Yes.
even after they've been, like,
Yes.
in the closet?
Yeah, hanging in the closet.
Okay, now that's a game changer.
Yeah, that's pretty big.
I mean, that would
change my laundry game.
definitely change my laundry routine.
For sure.
Okay, so we got glossine. What's fractaline?
Okay, so fractaline, this one is, it's kind of like a fragrance chameleon.
Okay.
So it can have either this delicate, floral, almost violet-like scent,
Okay.
or it can be a zesty citrus ginger aroma.
Okay.
And it just kind of depends on how it's combined with other ingredients.
Oh.
And get this, at low concentrations, it can actually make other fragrances last longer
What?
without adding its own scent.
So it's like a fragrance booster.
It's totally a fragrance booster.
Okay, so it's not just creating new scents.
No.
But it's also
like new tools.
Yeah,
Giving perfumers
Yeah.
these crazy new
Yeah.
tools and ingredients.
Totally.
Okay, and then last one, quasarine.
Okay, yeah, quasarine is a very captivating scent.
Okay.
It's imagine like a very rich, intense jasmine aroma that just kind of lingers in the air.
Okay.
So that it's highly diffusive and long lasting.
So it's strong.
Yeah, and it's really good for creating those kind of unforgettable fragrance experiences.
Okay, so all of this is really innovative.
Yeah.
But what about the safety? I mean, are these AI-generated scents, are they safe to use?
Totally. That's a very crucial question.
Yeah.
And Osmo takes it very seriously. Every single captive molecule that they create goes through a very rigorous testing process to make sure that they meet and actually exceed industry safety standards.
So they're not just like rushing to make the next,
no, not at all.
trendy fragrance.
They're doing
it the right way.
Taking the time and being responsible.
Absolutely.
Okay, that's good. I mean, that's really reassuring.
Yeah, definitely. And here's another important point.
Okay.
Unlike traditional fragrance formulas, these new molecules are actually patentable.
Oh, wow.
So
that's interesting.
It means that these unique scents that are created using Osmo's technology are protected.
Right.
Which is a huge advantage in an industry like fragrance, which is very competitive.
It's almost like having a copyright.
Yeah.
But for a smell.
Exactly.
Yeah, for a scent.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense. That's really interesting. So they've tackled speed, cost of traditional fragrance development.
Yeah.
What about creativity? Can AI actually inspire perfumers to come up with like really new and exciting fragrance ideas?
This is where Osmo's second AI platform comes in.
Okay.
It's called Inspire. And it's kind of like having a personal fragrance genie.
Okay, a fragrance genie. Now you're talking.
Yeah.
Tell me more.
So imagine being able to describe a scent that you have in mind, maybe a memory, a feeling, or even like a picture.
Right.
And having AI translate that into an actual fragrance formula.
Wow. Okay.
That's what Inspire can do.
So if I don't know, if I wanted a perfume that reminded me of like my grandma's garden.
Yep.
I could actually recreate that.
Yes.
Using Inspire.
Yes, you could. You can use text, images to describe the scent that you're going for. And soon you'll even be able to use like songs and other sensory input.
Oh, wow.
Osmo calls this multimodal fragrance design.
Okay.
Which basically means you're not just limited to describing a scent with words, but you can actually use a whole range of inspiration to create something really unique.
So walk me through the process. I'm trying to wrap my head around this.
Sure.
So like, say I have a picture that evokes a certain feeling. How do I turn that into a perfume?
So you would upload that picture to Inspire, along with, any descriptive words that kind of capture the feeling that you want to convey.
Oh, yeah.
And then the AI would actually analyze the image and the text.
Right.
Using its vast knowledge of, scent molecules and fragrance profiles to actually generate a unique formula.
Okay.
And then here's the really cool part. It also places this new scent on something called a principal odor map.
A principal odor map?
Yeah.
Okay, what's that?
So it's basically a visual representation of the entire fragrance landscape. So think of it like a map of the universe, but for scents.
Okay.
So each point on the map represents a different fragrance.
Got it.
And the map shows how they all relate to each other.
Okay.
In terms of, aroma profiles and families.
So I can see where my custom scent fits in.
Exactly.
With other, known fragrances.
Exactly.
That's fascinating.
It's pretty cool.
Okay, so this all sounds pretty virtual, though.
Right.
I mean, can you actually smell these fragrances that Inspire creates?
Yes, you absolutely can. If you're a good fit for their beta program, you can request a physical sample.
Wow.
And they'll send you a vial of your creation.
Okay, so I could go from like a picture and a feeling to a real perfume in my hand.
Yes, you can.
Wow.
It's pretty cool.
That is really cool. And I love that they're constantly refining Inspire based on customer feedback.
Yep, they are.
I mean, it shows that they're really committed to making this technology, accessible and user-friendly.
They have this Fragrance 2.0 initiative where they're focusing on making Inspire as intuitive as possible while also ensuring that it's creating truly unique and original fragrances.
Okay.
But we're not done yet.
Oh, there's more.
There's one more really mind-blowing development that we need to talk about. Are you ready?
I think so. What is it?
You've been waiting for this. Yeah.
Scent teleportation.
Oh, yes. Okay, tell me.
It sounds very Star Trek.
Yes, it does.
Do they actually beam scents from one place to another?
Right, yeah.
I mean, it's not quite teleportation.
Okay.
As we see it in, science fiction.
Right.
But it's still pretty remarkable. Osmo has actually developed a process to capture a scent in one location and then actually recreate that same scent.
Wow.
In a completely different place.
Okay, so I need a little more.
Okay.
I need more detail on this one.
Okay.
I mean, how does that even work?
So they use a special sensor. It's called a GCMS.
Okay.
And they use this to analyze the scent and identify all of its molecular building blocks.
Right. So they're breaking the scent down into its different...
into its individual components.
Okay.
It's kind of like taking a fingerprint of the aroma.
I see.
So they know exactly what's in it.
Yeah, exactly. And then this data is then uploaded to the cloud, and it's mapped onto their principal odor map, which we were talking about earlier.
Right, yeah.
And this allows their AI to kind of understand how all these different molecules are working together to create that specific aroma.
So it's like the reverse engineering it.
Exactly.
Using the map.
And then based on this analysis, their AI actually generates a formula for recreating the scent.
Got it.
Using a combination of existing fragrance molecules.
So theoretically, they could recreate any scent in the world.
Pretty much.
Using this.
That is the goal.
Oh, wow.
They even have these formulation robots that use the AI-generated formulas to actually mix different scents and really recreate that original smell.
So they have robots that can make perfume.
It's pretty wild, right?
It's incredible. I mean, I imagine this is still pretty early stages, right?
Yeah, it is in its early stages, they've successfully teleported, like, simple scents like coconut. And they're working their way up.
To harder stuff.
To more complex aromas, Yeah. So the ultimate goal is to fully automate the process. So anyone could experience scent teleportation. They're even planning to open select demos to the public in the future.
Oh, really?
So people can experience this firsthand.
That's amazing. I'm putting that on my to-do list.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. That's incredible. I mean, this whole concept of like scent teleportation it's just mind-blowing.
It really is.
It's like, it makes you think, like, what other senses, you know, might we be able to digitize and share in the future?
That's a really good question.
But I think we've covered a lot of ground.
Yeah, we have.
So I think we should take a break. And come back in part 2.
Sounds good.
And we'll talk a little bit more about the potential applications and implications of Osmo's technology.
Looking forward to.
Okay, see you in a sec.
See ya.
Okay, so we're back. And I'm still kind of thinking about this whole scent teleportation thing. I mean, it's just crazy to think that we could one day be sharing and experiencing scents. Like from anywhere in the world. As easily as we share, like, you know, photos or videos.
Exactly. I mean, it really could revolutionize how we think about scent and how we use it.
Yeah, and you know what's really fascinating to me is that this technology could go way beyond just the fragrance industry.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, have you thought about the potential for healthcare?
Oh, yeah. Healthcare is a huge one. You know, doctors could use this technology to diagnose patients remotely based on, you know, specific odors that they might be detecting. And therapists could use it to create these immersive sensory experiences for patients struggling with things like, you know, PTSD or anxiety.
Wow. I hadn't even thought about that.
Yeah.
So it's like scent teleportation could, like...
Yeah, it could add a whole new dimension to telemedicine.
Right. Yeah. Wow. That's amazing. And what about, I mean, have you thought about the potential for entertainment?
Oh, yeah. I mean, entertainment is another big one. Like, imagine watching a movie. And actually being able to smell the salty air of the ocean.
Oh, my gosh.
You know, during a storm scene, or like the fresh baked bread from a bakery. You know, it could add a whole new level of immersion and realism.
That would be incredible.
And think about video games.
Right. Oh, yeah.
I mean, you could smell the different environments as you explore a virtual world.
Oh, my gosh.
Or even use scent as, like, a gameplay mechanic.
Oh, that's so cool.
Right. And for VR, I mean, scent could be the thing that makes it truly immersive, like engaging all of our senses. You know, we could be on the verge of this, like, whole new era of sensory entertainment.
It's kind of mind-blowing to think about all the ways that scent could be integrated into our lives. Once it's just as accessible as, you know,
as sight and sound.
Yeah, as sight and sound in like the digital world. You know, really does. It's crazy.
Absolutely.
It opens up a whole new realm of possibilities.
And think about preserving those personal memories.
Oh, yeah.
Like, imagine capturing the scent of your grandmother's apple pie.
Oh.
Or the perfume your mom wore on your wedding day.
That's beautiful.
You know, these scents could become like treasured keepsakes.
Right.
allowing us to relive these special moments.
Yeah, it's like a time capsule.
Yeah.
But sensory.
Exactly.
Yeah, that can transport you back.
It makes you really appreciate how powerful scent is
Yeah.
at evoking these emotions and memories.
Yeah, scent is definitely a powerful sense. And you're right, it's often, like, overlooked
Yeah.
in our increasingly digital world.
And that's what's so interesting about what Osmo's doing. They're changing that.
Yeah.
By bringing scent into that digital realm
Right.
and making it something that we can create and share and experience in these totally new ways.
Yeah.
And they're not just a tech company. They really do have a vision.
Right.
You know, their mission is to digitize scent to increase human health and happiness.
Wow.
They're not just developing this technology for the sake of technology.
Right.
They're trying to use it to, enhance our lives, make the world a more sensory-rich place.
Yeah.
And they really do seem to understand the power of scent, to connect us to ourselves, to connect us to each other,
Yeah.
and to connect us to the world around us.
It's inspiring, to say the least. But, any powerful technology,
Right.
there are those potential challenges and ethical considerations that we need to think about, right?
Absolutely. As we move toward the future where scents can be digitized and shared, we need to think about the potential downsides too.
Yeah.
Make sure we're using it responsibly.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think that's a perfect segue into the final part
Okay.
of our deep dive.
Sounds good.
We'll explore some of the potential challenges and ethical considerations
Mm-hmm.
surrounding digitized scents,
Yeah.
and we'll leave you with some thought-provoking questions
Okay.
to ponder. All right, so we're back for the final part of our deep dive into Osmo and their vision for the future of fragrance. It is really exciting to imagine a world where we can just capture and recreate and share scents,
Yeah.
as easily as we do photos and music today.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. It is a paradigm shift. But as we've been talking about, with any powerful new technology, I think it's important to consider those, both the incredible opportunities and the potential challenges.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I think that's a great point. So I guess let's dive into some of those challenges.
Sure.
And talk about some of the ethical considerations that come along with, digitizing scent. What are some of the things that kind of stand out to you?
Well, one area that I think deserves careful consideration is data privacy. If we're capturing and transmitting scent data,
Right.
we need to make sure that information is, handled responsibly,
Yeah.
securely. I mean, think about it.
Yeah.
Our sense of smell is deeply personal, right?
Yeah, it is.
I mean, it's connected to our memories and our emotions and even our physical well-being.
So you're saying our scent print could become as sensitive as our fingerprints or our DNA.
Exactly. And as this technology becomes more sophisticated, we really need to be careful about who has access to that data,
Right.
how it's used. We don't want to see a future where, companies are exploiting our scent profiles for, things like targeted advertising.
Right. Yeah.
Or other potentially manipulative purposes.
Yeah, that is a scary thought. It's like the digital equivalent of someone following you around, sniffing your perfume,
Right.
and then using that information to try to sell you something.
Right.
I
Yeah.
don't know. It feels
It's a violation.
it feels wrong. Yeah.
Yeah. And it raises some complex questions about ownership and control,
Right.
Do we have the right to control our own scent data?
Yeah.
How do we ensure that it's used ethically? I mean, these are questions that we as a society, need to start thinking about now before this technology becomes, even more widespread.
Yeah. It's funny. It's it seems like every time technology takes a big leap forward,
Yeah.
our understanding of ethics and privacy has to play catch up.
You're totally right. And, another important consideration is the potential for misuse.
Right.
We've been talking about the power of scent, to evoke those emotions and memories. But what happens if this technology falls into the wrong hands?
Yeah, that is a little unsettling. Are you talking about scenarios where scents could be used to I don't know, manipulate people's feelings or behaviors?
Yes, exactly. Imagine being bombarded with scents that are, designed to make you feel anxious or insecure.
Right.
Or even, even worse, scents that trigger cravings or, addictive behaviors.
Wow.
I mean, It's a possibility. We need to at least be aware of it.
Yeah.
Safeguard against it.
Yeah, it sounds like we need to be thinking about, not just the technology itself, but also the regulations, the safeguards, that we need to put in place.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. And then, obviously there's the environmental considerations.
Yes,
right?
for sure.
If we're creating and teleporting scents everywhere, what impact is that going to have on the planet?
Yeah, that's a great point. I mean, we need to make sure that the chemicals that are used to create these digital scents, that they're environmentally friendly, that the technology itself is sustainable.
Right. So it's not just about what we can do, but what we should do.
Absolutely.
And it sounds like Osmo is taking a pretty thoughtful approach. But, it's really up to all of us as consumers and as citizens to demand that this technology is developed and used ethically, right?
I completely agree. It's collective responsibility. And, that actually brings us to a final thought-provoking question for our listeners to consider. If scent could be digitized and shared as easily as photos or music, how would you use it to connect with others, to enhance your own life, or, even to make the world a better place?
That is a fantastic question. It's one that I think we all need to kind of grapple with as this technology keeps evolving.
Yeah.
So, well, hey, thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the future of fragrance. We hope it sparked your curiosity and gave you something to think about. So until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep your senses sharp.
Absolutely.